I've been reading and researching about the Wellspring of Eternity and Waters of the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, which seem likely to be the same as those found at Tierhold or very similar. I ran back across the Twin Emperors. It says that the Twin Emperors used the ever-burning forges deep beneath Ahn'Qiraj to make the new generations of Anubiseth to fight the Bronze Dragons. Those who were successful may have been granted new forms by the old gods known as the Horseth. Now, AQ lore is incredibly sparse and was mysterious from the time of its introduction, with some additions later on. It's a Titan facility that's supposed to be dedicated to housing Titan Forge channels of lore, something we don't see. It's supposed to have something that's described exactly like a Titan Forge for creating Anubiseth. Indeed, the Twin Emperors created more of them for their Dark Lord. And it's connected by land to the Chamber of the Heart and Oldham. So I assume there should be tunnels or access ways between Oldham and the Chamber of the Heart, but I suppose it's possible the Silithid caved them in and practically destroyed them. A Titan forge being located there is consistent with Ra's other installations of focus, including the Engine of Nalak Shah and Forge of Origination. Possibly more, as there are Mogu and Tolvir found outside of both Pandaria and Oldham and its surrounding islands. But this forge is mostly undiscovered as far as I can tell. It is described, documented, and plays a significant role in the armies of Cthulhu, but it is not shown. I'm also led to assume from the change of General Sirian into the Huraseth that the Twin Emperors must have originally been some powerful watchers left behind by Ra to watch Cthulhu that were eventually corrupted by him and given their new, current, or latest forms. N'Zoth's assaults on the Vale and Oldham were with the objective of seizing Titan forges and furtherance of ushering in Ny'alotha around the world. It would seem like N'Zoth had managed to take control of this forge under Ahn'Qiraj, as he was successful in printing and corrupting new Anubiseth, which he sent to wage war on Oldham, but also to join his ranks in Ny'alotha. They too have ascended to a disturbing form, like what had originally befallen Osirian and the Twin Emperors, however different because they are changed by N'Zoth rather than Cthulhu. If the forge is corrupted and still under the power of old god forces, it should be a cause for concern. It seems like we left AQ after slaughtering everything we saw and simply never went back. Yet the Twilight Cult still occupies much of Silithus even after the sword stab, and the Twilight Prophet patrols outside of AQ around Silithus. Of course, the question is why. I think this old god corrupted Titan engine or Titan forge is the reason. We know there are more caverns beneath AQ because we can find one with a sleeping dragon in it on the shoreline. And because, despite the size of AQ, we mostly interdict Karaji and Silithid forces in Silithid tunnels that were carved out beneath the temple in order to reach another derelict section of the temple where Cthulhu is stored. The rooms between Cthulhu and the entrance must have collapsed into these tunnels, and there must have been more undiscovered sections of the Titan facility, and possibly even more Silithid tunnels undiscovered, possibly caved in or hidden by illusions. Even the silithid hives have door-like orifices that imply they go deeper and may have an interconnected network leading back to the central hive beneath AQ40, like what leads to the silithid royalty. But hives extend to Taneris and Ungoro, which may imply they've already dug enough to see the roots of Aluna here, but to what end may be unknowable. Therefore, it seems likely to me that the old god forces control a significant Titan forge beneath or within the ruins of AQ, possibly having collapsed the tunnels when we encroached, or perhaps hidden in complex silithid hive networks. Even the original Silithus map prior to 1.8 shows AQ20 as being massive, almost the size of an entire zone, and that is how it appears external of the city too. In that 1.8 map, it is implied that AQ would have extended into the mountains that surrounded it, which is something very common in Titan facilities, especially Raden's work, like Mugushan Vaults, Terrace of Endless Spring, Mugushan Palace, and the Chamber of the Dark Heart of Y'Shaarj. I've also often taken to the assumption that the orange crystals within the facility and surrounding regions, as well as the central communication crystals within Silithid hives, is very probably the black blood of Cthulhu. The crystals like those found in General Rajex's room, for instance, seem like the source material for their flying obelisk, which are nearly identical thematically to the obelisk of the Black Empire within N'Zoth's visions or invasions, presumably sculpted from the old god's blood, and the source of their magical nature is from the blood itself. After all, they are the polar opposites of the crystals in Assyrian's room, which are likely Titan in design for the purpose of sapping old god corruption by design of Ra as a defense mechanism. The color scheme of those crystals matches typical Titan Forge colors, blue and silver. The crystals at the center of the silithid hives is speculated by NPCs to be a telecommunication device for each hive. During the war with Ahn'Qiraj and Vanilla, these crystals spawned around the world and mind-controlled players. They would also summon forth Qiraji forces, including powerful lieutenants and generals. Lastly, we know there are unused or undiscovered partitions of Ahn'Qiraj even above the ground, just by flying overhead. But also, there is a cataclysm scenario where we fight Prince Sarceron, Herald of Ahn'Qir, in an unused portion that is only accessible by portal. At that time, Sarceron served Ahn'Qir, who served the Old Gods / Deathwing. Why would an elemental that is waging war on Stormwind and Orgrimmar make their headquarters in a secretive section of Ahn'Qiraj? Sure, it is an obscure location, but so is any random place in the ocean. Ahn'Qir and the Old God forces sought to seize the Forge of Origination by order of Cho'Gall and therefore by order of N'Zoth, a goal he did not give up by the time of BFA. Therefore, it can be no coincidence that Sarceron is in Ahn'Qiraj as a base of operations, because Anub'Seth continued to be printed from there in both Cataclysm and later during BFA at the behest of N'Zoth. The Fire Lord, empowered by the Shaman Order Hall, turned coat and revealed their loyalty to Void Forces, once again repeating the same plot to incinerate the world by burning a world tree. That was the objective of the Druid of the Flame and the Firelands and Hyjal during Cataclysm, repeated again by the Druid of the Flame and Smolderon during the Yggdrasil raid. Sarceron was one of two options to become the Windlord in Legion, but was denied this right, and instead we elevated Thunderon. Sarceron objected to this, but eventually gave up his protest thanks to the player Shaman. Prior to taking up base in the Twilight Highlands, Cho'Gall's refuge was in the ruined city of Ahn'Qiraj. This is how he became a servant of the Old Gods and converted his then horde to the Twilight Hammer. Despite this, Cho'Gall isn't found anywhere in the ruins and is not present for the Battle of Ahn'Qiraj. While this can be explained in many ways, I would choose to believe that he was delegating tasks to the Twilight Hammer cultists from within a hidden partition of Ahn'Qiraj. Notably, those cultists are unearthing those same curious crystals to make into obelisks and infusing them with magic, adding to the theory that they are crystallized chunks of Cthulhu's blood, ergo black blood. I'm compelled to believe that the reason any cultists survived the Sargeras sword stab is because they took refuge in their safe rooms within Ahn'Qiraj. Curiously, the Twilight Dragonflight is alive and well by the time of BFA. The Twilight Hammer likely splintered into multiple factions. One faction shown in Dragonflight is a cult of worship around Deathwing that has recruited many dragons of the Dragon Isles to their cult. One faction we know is choosing to align themselves with Xal'atath. Many more, including those that cling to AQ, may persist as well. Conclusion. I think player characters should eventually look to re-examine Ahn'Qiraj. 1. Our haste to slay our enemies did not lead to the ultimate death of the Qiraji Silithid, who provably still live. The Qiraji did not answer the call of N'Zoth to go to Ny'alotha. Number 2. We have not seen the Titan Forge, which continues to print corrupted Anub'Seth to this day, proven in BFA. Number 3. Sarceron is likely responsible for the continued printing of corrupted Anub'Seth, or if he's not, he's very, very likely knowledgeable about the operation in some capacity. Number 4. There are unused and undiscovered partitions of AQ above and below ground, and the facility may extend into the mountains around it. Number 5. The black blood of Cthulhu likely plays a role in the Forge's corruption and should be examined. Its proximity to the Chamber of the Heart and the corrupted Forge of AQ is likely how N'Zoth forces were able to enter the Chamber of the Heart during BFA. Number 6. AQ's Titan facility proper might be completely under the control of Twilight remnants. While the Titan Forge Qiraji forces answered the call of N'Zoth, Silithids did not when called to Ny'alotha. Additional, tangential speculation is that I would find it incredibly likely for AQ's facilities to be embedded deeper into the earth, as well as into the mountains around it. This is highly consistent with both Ra and Arcadius' design choices for their facilities. If I entertain the idea that a corrupted Ra constructed the Anub'Seth of BFA, it still doesn't explain the new ones presented in Cataclysm. I'm also compelled to believe that a corrupted Ra would have still been using the Forge beneath AQ. The power that N'Zoth projected at the Chamber of the Heart very likely is a similar function of use for him through that Forge underneath AQ. Furthermore, the SOS was sent out from the chamber to all other Titan facilities. That means the Forge of AQ is alerted, and that is how N'Zoth was made aware of the chamber's location or how to enter it. I've also taken time to compare pre-sundering maps with Silithus. There is indeed a land to the left of Ahn'Qiraj and its surrounding mountain range. It's a landmass equal to that of AQ and Silithus, and it would seem like an opening in the mountains connects ruins of AQ to Oldham, and that same opening connects to this landmass to the left of AQ, Silithus, and Oldham. It could be sunken into the ocean, or it could be off the coast somewhere. The lore is all there for this. It's all fairly consistent with this theory. It doesn't need retcons to justify its existence either, and it adds depth to one of the most interesting but least explained or explored Titan facilities. If there ever is a time to jump on this, then it will be when the Titan facilities become ultra relevant in The Last Titan, or maybe even after. Thanks for watching.